Can you speak?
I can. What would you like me to speak about?
I need you to turn up your microphone.
Oh, look at that.
Turn up my mic.
Turn up my mic.
Microphone.
That
What'd
better?
you say, Justin?
Oh, sorry.
I said Harley. Yeah, Harley, I need you to turn up your microphone.
I'm just not close to my microphone.
Listen, if
Then
we're,
get
if
fucking
we're
close to your
talking about
microphone.
who we want to turn up our microphones,
Don't you speak to your Lord and Savior like that.
she accepts it. Guys, she accepted it. She can never take it back. And it was recorded.
Yes.
She knows that she's our Lord and Savior now. We can make this an official religion.
Tim, are you recording
Sometimes
that?
you live long enough to see the hero become the villain.
You either die a hero or you become the villain.
I'll start making the text, the ancient text.
Scrolls, age them with tea.
Yeah.
You got to write them all on regular paper and then dip that paper in tea.
Just drop some tea and stuff on it.
Just throw him in some dirt.
Bury him for a couple of days and then dig him up like, what was his name, Joseph Smith?
Yeah.
The Mormon plates.
I'm just gonna download all of Harley's audio tracks and just make that.
That's the holy text. Everything she's ever said.
That's scary. I don't like that.
This is the Always More podcast.
Hello, it is May 28th, and welcome to the Always More podcast, where we believe there's always more room at the table for honest questions, meaningful conversations, and deeper understanding. Today on the pod, we are talking about upcoming pod plans, flamboyant Italians, TikTok scholars, and how we've started over, and of course so much more. But first, I am your host, your Virgo planning and university extraordinaire, Tim, and sitting next to me is my best friend in the whole entire world and zombie apocalypse survival expert, Chris.
What up?
Also with us is our yeehaw girl in a Kansas world, Harley.
Howdy.
And joining us is the guy who puts the sin in Wisconsin long haul trucker and the great bunghole king, Justin.
Yo.
Welcome
Every
in.
time. Every time.
Welcome in, everyone. It's a hey, we're in the last stretch of May. We are approaching summer. I would say we kind of already hit it in certain ways. School's out.
I have cried multiple times today.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is Ellie's first year of school and she's done. And I'm so proud of her. She got straight A's. Like, I guess she's in pre-K, so they don't call them A's, but like she's exceeding all expectations across the board, even in like education and social interactions. She's got all S's, all threes, like top tier marks. I'm so proud of this girl.
Oh, and she's cute.
And she's cute.
Yay!
The cutest kid in her school.
I saw Ellie's pictures today, and they were like, "Oh, it was so adorable." She was wearing like her little, was it Mickey Mouse or Minnie
Her
Mouse?
Minnie Mouse ears, yeah.
Oh, it was so cute.
Hey, I got to say, I'm glad y'all have cute kids because some kids aren't cute.
Some kids are
And
not cute.
Did get
I
lucky.
can't lie about it. I'm just like, oh, yeah, nice.
I learned
Nar.
one thing I did learn positively from some previous pastors that I had was that when a kid is not cute, you say, "Oh, how precious."
Oh.
If you've ever been told you have a precious baby,
Oh,
you might have an ugly baby.
damn.
Because all babies are precious. Not all babies are cute. Some of them look like aliens.
It's like oh honey or
Yeah, like it sounds positive, but it's not.
oh honey. All right, guys. Well, hey, we got an episode for y'all today. We're gonna do a few normal things at the beginning, and then we're going to have a delightful conversation and during our main segment. But first, hey, right now, this episode, the one that you're listening to, is episode 99. Which means our next episode that we release in a couple weeks will be episode 100.
We have to find somebody to pay us for this.
100 shots. We're taking 100 shots.
That is the theme. And if you all would like to thank someone for this idea, that would be Justin. He came up with this idea for 100 shots for our 100th episode. And so we will be somehow coming up with ways to take 100 shots
If
collectively.
If you've ever been on our podcast and you want to help us not die of alcohol poisoning, that would be cool. The more people we have, the less we have to take individually.
I know we will have at least one special guest joining us for that episode, but we will be having some games that we're going to play in, probably some flashbacks, and we want to do like a bingo thing along with the episode where you guys can participate and play along, so prepare yourselves. I think we're going to try to make something up by the time we record next for this episode, but it's going to be fun. We're really excited. I mean, 5 years, 5.5 years of recording this thing, and it's been fun
with our 17 monthly listeners.
It's great because this is both like it's therapy almost for me, and I get to spend time with my friends, which if you look at statistics is actually pretty damn low considering how many times people our age hang out with friends.
Truly, like that's the main thing for me is I get to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
You guys are terrible therapists, but I love you all deeply.
I'm not qualified, so I can respect that.
Listen, I've taken the classes, so I know what to look for in a therapist, and none of you hit that mark. But
I think I'm a great therapist.
You're not.
Now,
I'm going to end it right here. You're not. You're a great friend, not a great therapist.
You've never been in need.
Justin, I am constantly in need. You were there when my therapist literally abandoned me. Like, what do you mean I've never been in need?
Of the kind of therapy that I provide.
Some of us in this room are good listeners. Therefore, that makes us decent therapists. Because at least we just listen.
I don't want...
So you can yap.
Ooh. Ooh.
Well, it's not me.
I think the three of us are good listeners.
Yeah,
honestly,
we're all okay. We're
honestly,
okay.
when
you're downplaying us.
When we need to be therapized, we could probably turn to any one of the other ones on this podcast and be fine. Not great, but fine.
We're okay. We're all right. We're doing okay here. Anyways, 100 episodes, 100 shots. Come join us for this episode. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we'll have a good time. So that's
and
next
games.
time. And games.
Play games.
We'll be playing games.
Fun games like Field Day.
Yes, like Field Day.
Yay! Let's make it Survivor themed.
Survivor. Oh my God.
Last man standing after all the shots we have to take.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. We probably should talk about this after we record, but I'm already talking about it now. So I took off the morning after.
As you should.
I love it.
I hope you
want me to mail you guys that awful bourbon that we had?
No, please don't.
Oh my God.
That was so bad.
I would have wished I'd put my worst enemy.
Listen,
I was at a liquor store and there was some bourbon and I saw it and this guy's like, it's weird. People love it or hate it. And it was $13. So I did what any reasonable human would do when they see a $13 bottle of bourbon. You buy it.
Pick it up.
If you have
it's not
$13.
good. It's not good. It is bad. It is objectively bad.
What was that?
It's not good.
What was like the profile of it again? I can't remember. It was just so like. Ugh.
It was like raisins and motor oil.
I don't think that was the official one, but that's definitely how it felt.
Yeah.
Like I've never been so offended by a beverage.
Yeah. Oh, you know what we should do? You know, like that episode of How Much Your Mother when they make that drinking game out of Robin when she says We should do that, but for us, like things that we say all the time.
We have to ask our listeners, because like,
no,
all right, all 17 of y'all, you got
put a
homework
list together. I listen to you guys enough to catch a few things here and there.
That is true.
But do you listen to yourself?
Yes. All right, we're moving this show along.
Chris is trying to be like introspective, and Tim is like, "No, I literally listen to us all the time."
As the one who has to edit your shit, yes, I listen to all of it.
What editing? You just leave my shit in there and make me look bad.
I mean, I do both, but. All right, moving along, we are going to go to our good old-fashioned Wreck and Rev. part of the show where we like to recommend and review some items for your pleasure. Harley, you're first.
Oh, God. Okay. So mine's a bit of a doozy. So I like to watch documentaries or like docu-series.
Same.
And so I was on the Netflix and I was
The
browsing.
Netflix.
And Hunter and I, we both watched this one called American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden.
Good Lord.
What up?
So, hear me out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So, I was a child during really all of this because this ended, if you will, in like 2011. I would have been in like 5th grade going into 6th grade, question mark. So I was a wee babe.
Justin.
What
Yeah.
a tiny
Yeah. So a lot of this information I didn't know. I had no idea. Why would I know any of this? And so I was enlightened with how much I learned. I don't know if I would say positively, but I learned a lot. It was pretty crazy hearing a lot of like the firsthand perspectives of people who are involved in the catching, if you will, of bin Laden. And just it starts out really heavy with clips of 9/11, and you're like, oh, okay. And then it just like kind of goes from there because that's like the turning point, if you will. Shows the clips of like George W. Bush in like that elementary school classroom when he like finds out and like all of that stuff. And then it shows you like it actually takes you back a little bit to like the early 90s where, or I guess it's like, when's the end of the Cold War?
Depends on how you look at it, but if you're talking about like the fall of Russia, then early 90s.
Yeah. And so it was started with like the I guess fallback of Soviet rule in, I think it was Afghanistan. And then it just like shows how it goes from there.
Yeah.
And then the
Operation
whole
Desert Storm.
15 years, and it was a lot.
It's funny how the big old empires create more problems when they invade other countries. It's quite of a funny little.
What's
Quick-a-dink.
insane is how many people don't think America is a big old empire
I know.
that invades other countries.
And that was a part that was talked about because it was basically like, we got Russia out of here and we don't like Western like politics or whatever.
Yeah.
In our countries. And so then that's when it like, then we became the enemy. So it was like there was a shared enemy with like Russia, the Soviet Union. And then boom, it was like redirected to us. And then it like, it's crazy. Like I did not realize how much I did not know. So
Have you seen the movie Zero Dark 30?
I have not, surprisingly.
You should watch it. If you liked this, you should probably watch it. And I'm curious to see like what the comparison is like. Obviously, it's a movie, so it's going to be take some liberties and dramatize things. But I'm curious to see how that would compare.
There was at the very end where they get to the part of finding bin Laden. There was actually a SEAL Team 6 member who was a part of the documentary, and just like his firsthand experience. And apparently, he was the guy who actually shot him.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh.
One of the guys.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah. They don't go into other detail on that. It seemed, the way they painted it, that it was just him. But.
Oh, cool.
It was wild. I don't know. I feel like if you don't know anything about that, you should probably watch it. But also, like, continue to do more research on it because obviously it's still a biased perspective.
True. Yeah.
So.
Cool.
That is all.
All right. Well, Justin, you're up next, sir.
All right. My recommendation is very new to me. And by very new to me, I mean I started it less than 24 hours ago. It is a show called, you know what, Chris? I'm gonna use your linguistic skills to pronounce this because
Ooh. Blatt.
there we go. See, great, love that. Imagine people saying German words with a Japanese accent and then trying me with my horrible accents trying to pronounce it.
Hey, fun
Bad.
fact, there are a lot of, not a lot, I guess, but a surprising number of Japanese Nazis.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, but you would think, like, after that, they would have not done that, but they're still around.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you
they
mean
s-
today?
Yeah, like today.
yeah?
I
they still
thought you
be
meant
floating.
during the war, and I was like, well,
No,
they were
during the
also
war, that
against
makes
us.
sense.
So
Well, I mean, it
Weird.
makes sense that they'd be, like, part of the Japanese Empire, but they're, like, legit Nazis waving swastika flags. Like, it's insane. Anyways, go on.
All right. Once again here with a quick anime recommendation. It is 12 episodes. Is that a complete story? Don't know. Because it came out this year in January. It basically follows the story of this guy who was this like young swordsman who was part of these like 14 swordsmen who are sent out by their emperor to go like war against this neighboring nation. And then half of them died or were betrayed by the other 7. Except he's one of the ones who died. He gets like, I don't know, reincarnated or something. Unclear. Haven't gotten that far yet. Into this other body, and now he's out to kill the other 7 guys who betrayed him. It's 20 years later, and it's kind of terrifying. But he also looks like a child. He's like a little elf-looking dude, but it's cool. It's cool.
So are they German or are they Japanese?
Yes.
They are. He is. I don't know what he is. He looks like an elf man with red eyes.
Elfman?
Elfman?
Yes. And everyone else looks European because, you know, the
Is it like-
title is
Is it like Full Metal Alchemist? Like where
nah.
it's obviously a Japanese anime, but everybody in it is supposed to be German and or Middle Eastern?
No, because there's like some other like races, not like human races, but like races, you know, like weird.
Like orcs
Elven
and elves
looking
and dwarves
people.
and Lord of the Rings shit. D&D.
Yeah, mostly just weird elvish looking people. But yeah, it's cool. I've enjoyed it. It's been mostly good. Couple hiccups. One thing that was really weird in the second episode, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, I want to talk about it. Text me
Thus
later.
far, I'm 7 episodes in, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh,
Fair enough.
honestly, that's what we should start doing on here. Start rating our things here.
Hey, that's
I
not
thought
going to
we
go well.
used to.
I feel like we did too.
And we stopped because Janelle can't rate things.
Oh. Okay. Chris, you're up next.
Oh, man. Okay. So my N Rev is... So, guys, listen. If you just imagine if Tim were a flamboyantly gay man and was a stand-up comedian, that's it. That's the pitch. Mateo
Done.
Lane.
Sold.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mateo Lane, but he has a special on Disney Plus now called the Al Dente Special. And it's a stand-up comedy thing where he talks about his Italian heritage and trips to Italy that he's taken, his relationships with other comedians. It's just a good time. It's funny. He talks about a time he met Oprah, the time he met Oprah. It's a good time. So, enjoy that. I don't want to spoil it. Like, it's funny. It's a stand-up comedian. Like, there's not much to say. Just go check that one out.
Interesting. Who's that guy that's been? I've been seeing all over my FYP. He's like he goes on. He has the auto tone like.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I
what's
don't know his
name. I guess we're on different sides of TikTok than you are, but like
Yeah, very clearly.
very much crowd, like goes in the crowd and like he has music in the background, but he has a mic that he carries around with him. He has
He
funny
like
conversation.
sings the whole
Yeah,
time.
sings.
Oh, I've seen him. I don't know who he is, but I've seen that. Yes.
That's I know your side of TikTok is full of comedians all over the place, but like that's literally like the only guy that I have on mine.
Yeah, there's like 1,000 comedians on my side of TikTok because it's either that or some very dark stuff.
Yeah.
And my TikTok's like, here's some dark stuff, here's some dark stuff, here's some dark stuff. Here's a comedian. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Now back to the genocide. Jesus.
Tim,
Okay.
before you share yours on the topic of comedians, Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso,
Yes.
he did a
Yeah.
comedy special, and it was pretty decent.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
I thought it was
super funny, but yeah, it was decent.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. He's a funny guy. He's funnier in his interviews than his stand-up comedy.
You know, I've been hearing a lot of that, like not but just him, but like other like writers, like what's her name? Amy Poehler has a podcast now, and like going over Parks and Rec and everything. And she has what's his name? The guy who plays Mose, but he's like one of the writers of The Office and Parks and Rec. I forgot his name, but he actually just got a Hollywood plaque and everything. But I was listening to them talk on the pod, and they're fucking hilarious. But like they're just conversing like this, like on a podcast. I'm like. I feel like he would never do anything well on front of a stage, but like this is hilarious.
Yeah. That seems to be the case for a lot of people. Like, you find one thing that you're good at, and people don't want to pay for that, but they'll pay for something adjacent to it.
Yeah.
So, like, they write for shows because they're really good at being funny. And it's not their best work when they're writing or, like, when they're doing, like, stand-up or anything like that. But just off the cuff, they are hilarious.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like, I feel like I want to try stand-up comedy, but I feel like I'm just funnier when things just happen and I react to them than I am like if I wrote out a joke.
There's only one way to find out, buddy.
I'll do it.
It's just a script if you can remember your own script.
Yeah.
And the timing is essential.
Timing.
I've got great timing.
Do you?
Try me. Ready?
No. All right, guys, moving along.
See? See?
My reckon rev for this week, guys. I read a book.
Whoa,
I
Tim
know.
can read.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I did not know Tim could read.
Okay.
As he's getting his freaking history degree.
I
It's
did
a lot of reading.
Yeah, but
Jesus.
there's apps for that now.
It is so much reading. The Bible Says So by Dan McClellan.
I knew it was
your
going to be
favorite.
that. I didn't
yeah.
even look at the notes.
What we get right and wrong about Scripture's most controversial issues. The synopsis for it is the Bible is the world's most influential book, but do we really know what it says? Every day across social media and in homes, businesses, and public spaces, people try to cut debate short by claiming that the Bible says so. However, they commonly disagree about what it actually does and doesn't say, particularly when it comes to social significant issues.
Here's my thing on that. I have read the whole Bible,
Oh, here we go.
start to finish,
Yep.
3 times.
3 times.
And on top of that, I've been reading parts of the Bible my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know what the Bible says.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that think they do don't understand what it means when it says those things.
Right. Well, and that's just the thing is like ever since, I think we've probably talked about this during our deconstruction series, but ever since I started looking at the Bible and my faith critically, like not in the sense of like when people hear the word critically, they usually assume like I'm out against this thing, but critically just means you are being honest with it. You're allowing it to speak for itself. When you kind of do that when it comes to the Bible, it shows you what it is. And a lot of times we get caught up in our own dogmas and get caught up in our own biases and even on this side of things on the left side of the spectrum politically, there's times where I have to catch myself because sometimes I do get caught up in left side dogma. It's everywhere too. And so anyways, this book though, it's really fantastic because he does a great job. If you've watched his videos on TikTok, which I'm sure most of us have, he does a really great job of each chapter is its kind of own little section, each own little topic of whether it's homosexuality, whether it's conspiracy theories or whatever else. He kind of deep dives into all these different aspects of it, He just does it really so well. I saw a review where it talks about how there's these academic journals and I don't know what you call them, but basically these little clubs that you can be a part of that are very expensive to be part of. But what the work that he's bringing into both social media and this book, it's truly that kind of work, and he's making it accessible to laymen, to people like us that are not in those fields. And so, anyways, highly recommend. Obviously, I'm a history major, Harley's history major, so we kind of have some background on things, and so we kind of see the work that he puts into it, and the amount of knowledge that he has truly is astonishing, and the way that he's able to articulate it into this book was fantastic. So that is my Rec and Rev.
Nice.
I like it. Picasso.
I like it, Picasso. Anything else before we move along? Any little thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, Harley said so.
None that won't take us down a rabbit trail.
We don't need that, do we?
Nope.
All right.
No rabbits around here.
No rabbits.
And God damn those trails.
All right, guys. When we come back, we're going to talk about starting over, so don't go anywhere. All right, everyone. Welcome back. We are here to, I realize we've had, in our conversations, we've had serious conversations, but it's been a while since we've had like a down to earth kind of conversation, if that makes sense, like a devoted conversation towards things that are a little bit more deeper and everything. And we talked about, I shared an idea with the gang a few weeks ago about starting over, because I think, I don't know about any of you guys, but I've been needing some hope in my life in the last few years, and as of recently, I've been feeling a little bit, in some moments, more hopeful than others, and or than my other moments. And I thought we could all share some positivity in our listeners' lives, and we wanted to reach out to you guys. We reached out on social media to hear a few things, and some of y'all shared, and we wanted to share that with y'all today. But we wanted to kind of share our own stories a little bit. Nothing crazy or epic or long, but some things that moments where we felt like we wanted or needed to start over, and how we're in that journey or past that journey. And so each of us have a little story to share. I promised to keep my notes short, and so I only have a page. But Chris, you're up first.
Am I?
Are you not?
I mean, I guess so. Sure. All right. Well, speaking of starting over, I feel like in my life, I've started over a lot. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes it was forced upon me. Just like greatness. I don't know,
can
man.
relate.
Like I don't go looking for reasons to start over, but sometimes they find you, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of have to. Sometimes you do start over, and who's to say what the positives and negatives of starting over are. One thing I can think about starting over with starting over, I don't even know how to grammatically say that. When I was on my life path trajectory that I had decided upon when I was but a child, I went from elementary, middle school, high school, and then straight into college, as most people do. While I was there, I was going for an engineering degree. And other things happened before that required me to start over, but that's the first one I'm going to talk about. I was going for an engineering degree, and I went and did an engineering internship at Disney University, which, fun fact, is an accredited university. And I had a grand old time working at Disney. But that was probably one of the biggest startovers of my life, because that was a brand new thing that I wasn't planning on, never thought it would be in my life plan. It was something that I eventually wanted to do, work at Disney, but not something I ever thought would happen before I had decades of experience,
Mm-hmm.
So when I found the opportunity to do that, I basically left everything I've ever known behind. I tell people all the time when they ask me about it, I ran away to join the circus because it was like, hey, do you want to come work at Disney? Sure. Do you want to leave everything you've ever known in Texas and come live in Florida? Sure. Like, I got new friends, a new school, new different styles of living. It was the first time that I wasn't connected to a church because my entire life I had been born into and grown up through and proselytized through a church. So it was the first time I didn't have a church as well.
So that's where the first domino fell.
It was Disney. Disney caused me to give up on church, and
Man,
I
that
don't know.
evil, liberal, leftist Hollywood agenda.
I'm telling you, that's what it
worked.
is.
The Disney is the devil.
Even outside of Hollywood, I'm starting to see it now, guys. I understand what my parents are talking about.
And that's why you couldn't watch Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
No, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was fine. It was the DCOM movies, the Disney Channel original movies.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't. No, I was allowed to watch all of those.
Interesting.
Honestly, everything on Disney was fine. It was Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon that my parents had problems with.
Oh,
Yeah, Nickelodeon was an issue too, but we also didn't have
Nickelodeon was
cable.
weird.
Pretty
So-
gnarly stuff.
I blame Dan Schneider for that.
yeah. I was
But
gonna say some
that's
things did come
fair.
to light that.
The point is,
Ugh.
I've reset my life several times. When I was a slightly older teenager, I think I was 15 or 16, I reset my life to go live with my brother for a while instead of my parents. When I was a junior in high school, I had a really close friend. We dated for a while, and then it was like an off and on thing, and that's why I have my like one date breakup, you're done rule. We were still really close friends even though we had broken up, and she passed away, and I had to reset my entire life after that. I went to Disney. When I got back from Disney, I decided, hey, I'm on this trajectory now to work at Disney for the rest of my life. That sounds great. And then all of a sudden, I decided, you know what? Nope, doesn't sound as great as being married to Janelle. So I reset my life and I moved back to Texas and completely changed the trajectory I was on for that. Married Janelle, eventually married Janelle, I should say. Before that, I decided to change my life again and go for a degree in religion. I decided I wanted to work in a church instead of building Gundams or roller coasters, you know? So completely threw my engineering out the window and went to get a degree in ministry, which I now have. That was an unaccredited degree, however, so, you know, I have to go back to school again and finish a different type of degree. So all kinds of resetting my life has occurred to the point where I don't even know that I have started over so much as just continued a pattern.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yes.
Like things that most people would consider career change or education shift, relationships being given and taken, I just consider part of my normal life. Like it's a weird way to explain it, but like, so for example, Ellie's best friend is moving after this school year. They went all through pre-K and they were best friends. We hang out with their parents and like we have a good old time. But they're moving away. And when they told us, they were very sad. We were just kind of like, yeah, that happens. You know, we're military kids. It's kind of what we know. And when Janelle told her brother, he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Everybody leaves. But it wasn't like, oh, everybody leaves me. It was just like, yeah, that happens. You know, it's kind of just the change that we all expect, we're used to. It doesn't feel like starting over because it's just life. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm the best one to talk about this topic, which is why I think Tim put me first.
All that to say,
It's not.
So there you go. However, I am a big fan of starting over. One of my favorite pieces of advice to give to the youth kids when I was the director of youth ministry at my church, was, hey, this person that you're dating, probably not the person you're going to marry. If you find any issues in your relationship, break up. Like, you're 12,
My
break up.
gosh.
You guys don't have to be
Just
married forever.
break up.
You don't have to fight through it when you're 12. That's my big thing. Like, if you think, like, this is a problem that I don't want to deal with for the rest of my life, just break up. Change the trajectory you're on. Restart. I feel that way about marriages, too. I love Janelle. That's not even a question for us. Like, for us, we are locked in for life. And it works, and we make it work, and we work on it. But when people are like, I don't know if this is something that I can do for the rest of my life, divorce, break up, I don't care. Like, I support your decision, whatever you decide to do. Go for it.
Do you find it easy for you to start over on things? Do you find it a challenge, or like a good challenge, or is there an internal conflict?
No, it's super easy. Like, all I have to do is decide that I'm starting over, and like, I can call it the autism, call it the PTSD, the one of 6 things I was diagnosed with. I don't care, whatever the reason is. It's so easy for me to cut something out and start something brand new.
Mm.
And I feel like it's probably a benefit to the way my life has gone, but I don't feel like it's a good thing for the general populace, you know?
Mm.
Like, most people, if they were to do what I do, I'm like, oh, you should get that checked out. Like, talk to a therapist. But for me, I'm just like, yeah, this bad thing happened, and I am immediately cut off from it, and okay.
Interesting. You feel that way with friends and like lost relationships and stuff?
Yeah. The people that I have in my life right now are the people that I've chosen to keep, and it was more of a struggle to keep them than it would have been to kick them out.
Mm.
But because of that, I know that those are the ones that are worth it. So, like,
Hell yeah.
yeah, obviously. Like, Janelle being my wife. There are many times where if it were anyone else, I probably could have been like, you know what, this is a minor inconvenience that I don't want to deal with. You're gone. But I wanted to keep Janelle in my life. Tim, there are so many times, like when I moved to Disney,
Mhm.
I could have just completely forgotten everything about Texas. I could have cut it off and been like, all right, those are my Texas years. This is my future. But I wanted to keep Tim in my life. You guys, like Harley and Justin, any moment I could just be like, all right, I'm done with the podcast, and then never talk to you guys again. But I like you guys. I want to keep you in my life. So I don't
You would
feel
come
the
home to
need.
find me eating at your table.
And honestly, that would probably be proof that I was wrong, and I would just accept that fact and bring you back in. Like, it is what it is. There are times when I feel the need to start over, but I don't feel like it's a negative thing.
You don't view it as failure.
I don't. No. I don't view starting over as failure. I view it as a decision to do something different than what's currently being done. And that's just, honestly, that's science. Like, as much as I hate to quote him, Thomas Edison, he didn't find,
Sorry.
he didn't fail 1,000 times. He found 1,000 ways that it didn't work. And all he had to do was find the one that did. That's how I feel about my life. Like, I'm not failing because I have to start over. I just found, hey, that doesn't work for me. Let's move on to something that might.
Yeah.
And I consider it a might until it does. So that's how I feel about it. Any questions from the peanut gallery?
No questions, but I just want to echo the sentiment that, like, starting over is 100% not failure. That's for sure. But we'll talk about that later when I talk.
Well, it's kind of the reason why I definitely paired us together, because I have felt that to be the opposite, or at least how I viewed starting over in
Oh,
the
I know.
past.
I'm well aware that's how you feel.
Oh, that type A personality.
Throw
Listen,
in a
I
healthy
don't know if
dose of religious trauma, and damn.
It's a
I
perfect mix.
I don't know what the last tier of type personality it is. If like Tim is type A, I would be type B or C or whatever. But genuinely, I feel like I'm probably closer to like type M. And
You're like, whatever the opposite of that is.
yeah,
Just-
the opposite.
Z.
I had a conversation with Janelle. It was a few months ago, and I was telling her about, and this is the start of my little segment here, so put a timer on, I guess. And how I feel like if I forget something, I fucking hate it. If I forget something at home or at work or whatever else, I feel like I I absolutely hate having to go back and to get something. It's just I hate it. I hate forgetting things. I hate having to what I consider a waste of time. Like I could have used this time that I'm going backwards to going forwards or to doing something more productive or something more fun or something that I enjoy for my betterment. And so, however, there's an exception to that, and that is if I can bring joy to others. That's where I kind of go, okay, I'm okay with this now. Did you want to say something before I get going?
Just the way Janelle puts that, because she's the same way,
Mm-hmm.
is like, for sake of argument, we're driving somewhere and we missed the exit. The apocalypse happened and that place no longer exists. So we'll just deal with that another day and we'll continue on to the next task.
Yeah. Harley?
I also have a comment. I think that's very interesting to hear from you, considering that you are somebody who studies the past so often
Oof.
Right?
that like to be set back is like this really difficult thing to navigate.
Yeah. It's almost like I care about, I don't know if efficiency is the right word, but I care about not wasting time. And so now what I'll share in this little story is things have kind of changed in the last few years regarding that, but there's still this part of me that I don't like I don't like wasting time, if that makes sense. So I did.
Oh, we know. We know.
I did create some chapters, I guess, in this little thing of mine. So some preliminaries before I share my official story. So first off, before I get involved with this, because I will be sharing some things that I haven't really shared online or to like non-friends in a private conversation. But I don't want this to come out as me bashing anyone or as coming as one-sided, because I am a person and I have biases and I have my own perspective, and I know I'm not perfect, and I know that I have my own things to consider as far as where my shortcomings and whatnot. But that being said, what I'm about to share it's my story and it's my perspective. It's not perfect, and just like most of our human memory, it's flawed. And in this conversation, I will leave out some details on purpose, but I will be sharing, how I felt and how, in a lot of cases, how I feel to this day. So, to reiterate, I'm not doing this to paint any picture of any other person. I'm doing this to share. There's a guy on social media and podcasting. I can't remember his name. Is it Jared or Jake, or he's that guy that's come out. He talks about life post divorce and everything. He's on social media a lot.
Not on my side.
I'll talk about it later. Anyways, but it's to do that. It's to kind of share my experience. So speaking of, I'm recently divorced, and
Congrats,
I
bud.
recently divorced.
oh, look at you, dad joke. Like literally about a month ago, it officially became official. So some
And we
context.
love that for you.
I know you do. So
Hell yeah.
some context to this. Growing up, I felt like a large purpose in my life, like one of the goals I had was to get married and to have a family. Like that was one of the, you could say that was cultural within America. You could say that's religious, background, or just probably a blend of all those things. But looking back, I also had a lot of self-worth issues. So you tie in these goals of wanting to be married and to have a family tied in with some self-worth issues, and it was not a great cocktail. Um, Back in the day, I had dated some, but for one reason or another, all except for the exception of one person, all the relationships I had were ended by the other person. Um, and so, due to that religious background, me being broken up with, and feelings that I had been sheltered, like I felt like because I was held back and not as advanced as everyone else, I believed there was a deep insecurity that laid root into my heart back then. And so a simple yet infectious idea had crept into my mind that has tried to resurface is that I'm a good guy, but I'm never what someone wants. And that's the evil little thought that likes to try to creep up is I'm good, but I'm not what you want. So I met my ex when I was in middle school. She was literally the first person I met when I moved to Killeen, and I was immediately smitten. And this is very much condensing the story, but over the next 10 years, we had an on again, off again relationship, which ultimately led us to dating as adults, getting engaged and marrying in 2014. And without getting into much of the details, I had felt like a lot of the relationship leading up to her commitment was one-sided. I feel guilty for saying that.
Don't.
So, I think the way I look at it, and this is not like a malicious way, but I think she was scared of commitment. It took a long time for her to even want to commit to me to get married, I think. And that should have been a red flag for me. But again, purpose, detail, this was my goal. I finally have someone kind of thing. But once I had gotten married and had kids, I felt like the burdens were lifted. The anxiety was gone. I was safe and I had accomplished my purposes. And on top of that, it was around that same time that I had dropped out of college and went into full-time ministry. So it was kind of like, yay, double purpose. I'm married. I'm, having a life and, going into ministry. Like this is it. Until it didn't. In 2021, I left the church, and if you want to hear more about that, you can go listen to our deconstruction series from forever ago. And after working a few months with Chris, me and my wife had decided to switch roles. And so I, at that time, felt like I had my chance to live my dream of being a pastor, so I thought it made sense that she should have her chance to go pursue hers. And again, I won't share much of the details, but about a year later, a watershed moment occurred that essentially put our relationship on questionable grounds, to say the least. 6 months later, it was decided that our marriage would not have a future. And so over the next year, we were stuck in a lease and we stayed and lived in the same house, preparing to leave. I'd gotten a job as a manager, but ultimately these actions resulted in me in feeling as I had failed and felt like I had failed financially. I felt like I had wasted time not finishing school. I felt like I had not wasted, but had a whole decade worth of I'm starting over now. And going back to my original premises, I felt like I could have used that time to better myself, to better my life for my kids or whatever else. And so in many areas, I felt like not necessarily I was a failure, but that I failed myself and I failed my kids. And once again, I felt like I was a good guy, but not what anyone wanted. So that was great. But since then, so that was 23 when we officially separated, or at the end of 23. But for me, starting over has been leaning on friends, leaning on Chris and Janelle, who I will say have been they're the foundation
The
here.
cornerstone.
Stop.
On a
I gotta
real
bust
note,
out the
like
worship songs. Pull out my keyboard right here. Listen to my altar call music.
Everyone, close your eyes, bow your heads. But no, they opened up their house literally and figuratively to me, and they've done everything they can to love me and to reinforce positive affirmations about myself and who I am as a man, a father, and a human being. And so since then, I have started school over. I mean, not completely. I still had some credits and things that got moved over, but full time, going online, doing that, working, and with a few semesters left to go, I'll be teaching soon, and that's really fucking exciting. And as I haven't been able to afford a therapist, most of my internal work has been gathering what information I can from both friends but also professionals online, and doing my best to do the work on myself, speaking truth and affirmations to myself the same way I speak it to my children. You are a good person. You are compassionate and kind. You are deserving of love and truth. You are enough. And so it's letting go of that fear of having to go back and having to start over. And I think what has changed for me most dramatically in the last few years is kind of reflecting on that fear of, or that hatred or whatever, of going back to pick up the keys or going back to start something over, because it's given me a new purpose and a new, I guess, a new tool that I can teach my kids of shit can hit the fan and you can still build back up. And yeah.
So obviously you've started over on a bunch of things, probably all at once based on what I know from the situation. How would you feel your view on starting over has changed?
It still sucks, but like it's worth it. No, I mean it's not as scary anymore, and it's not as I felt so comfortable for 10 years. So obviously once a lot of that shit happened, it was scary, not just because 10 years of marriage was going away, but also because this is new territory. This is new ground for me. And I mean, that was even scary leaving the church, but like obviously there was steps there that you helped me with, and being close with you guys has helped me with. So in the same way, I still don't like having to waste time, but now I don't view it so much as wasting time anymore. I view it more as I'm building ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snaps.
And that's what I got.
Just to pull a little bit more from you, literally. Obviously, those are some massive life changes, restarting everything about what you've known for the past 10 years. What are some smaller things that you had to restart that people don't typically think about in those cases?
In those situations in particular, or just in other areas?
In general, most of all, but if you can pinpoint anything in that particular situation of like divorce and restarting that way.
I mean, obviously with me, and as you guys probably know who I am and my character, a lot of it has been relearning to be okay with. I don't know why I think 33 is so old. Like, that's honestly like one of the things that hit me, like when all this started to happen, like, wow, I'm so fucking old. Like, I'm starting over this late and everything. And like how ancient of a thought that is. Like, honestly, like
literally like Bronze Age.
Yeah.
That's when people died back then.
But like there's a lot of smaller areas too that it may seem minuscule, but like for this podcast, for example, like, don't get me wrong, I still treat it seriously in the sense of like I want to do good with it, but like when we first started it, like I was fully planning on like this thing blowing up and for us to make this a big deal and everything. And since then,
we were the next link. I remember you telling me that.
It's not the sense that I don't care, but it's more like I'm not holding on to having to make this something that it's not, or having to put more pressure on myself to be something that's. I think I made a video about it a couple weeks ago, actually, where a lot of times I have put things on myself that don't need to be there. Like, obviously, I want to do good at what I'm doing. Like, ever since I got back into school, I'm fucking killing it. I got a 4.0 ever since I got back in. Like, I'm
Straight A's.
yeah, like I'm putting in the work. That's not the problem. But putting on expectations that don't need to be there, and doing things that don't, you know, am I expecting things of myself that other people aren't?
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm getting there, and this journey is still going on. But about a year from now, I'll be done with my degree and graduating, and get educated and go do some new things.
Hell yeah, brother.
He's so
Hell
smart.
yeah, brother.
Oh, thanks. Justin, you're next, good sir.
Oh man, I've got at least like 3 significant times that I've started over in my life. The first, I was 19 years old, which meant Harley didn't exist.
Jesus Christ.
Harley, how
When
old
were
were
you
you?
19?
He's joking.
And-
I'm 25.
Okay. So you were like,
We're like 10 years apart.
You were like 9.
so
What a
March
talk.
of 2009. For
Yeah, I
those
was, like,
of you who
9.
are old enough to remember, which is probably none of you, in 2008 we had this like fun little recession
I
that
remember.
ruined everything.
Yeah, girl,
Or-
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I did.
So I was living in Cook County, which is the county that Chicago is in, and our unemployment rate got up to 19 point something %.
Oh, wow.
So you can understand that me having a job at 18 and 19 years old, in the middle of that was a little rough. I gotten like seasonally laid off from my country club job, picked up a job working at a dollar theater for minimum wage for an inconsistent number of hours a week. And my parents, mostly my dad. Now, while in the story, my dad may seem like the biggest asshole in the world, he was. We have a much better relationship now these days. He has also admitted that he was indeed an asshole at this point, so it's fine for me to call him a retroactive asshole. Yeah, I mean, he like my parents had this idea, like like the reason like I couldn't find like a full-time job was like because I wasn't trying hard enough, and I'm like, 1 in 5 people in this county are unemployed. Like, are they all not trying hard enough? Like, I don't know what to tell you. And it was also like in the period of transition from, this idea, like, this might be weird to you, Harley. I don't know. But like, you're like, oh, you got to go into the place, you got to go talk to the manager and, and all this other stuff. And like, that's what like they were expecting me to do is get up in the morning and go places and talk to like managers and stuff, try to get jobs. And I'm like,
I remember
everything
that.
is
Hand him
online
your
now.
resume.
Yeah. I'm like,
I have single-handedly done that.
Even
It's
if
like-
you
it's
tell
like-
your parents, like, hey, that's not how it works anymore, they're like, you got to do it anyway. It sets you
basically
apart.
that was basically it. Like I was expected to get up at 9 a.m. and go out and look for jobs
Yep.
every day,
Like, literally pound the pavement.
Yeah.
like literally. And I'm just like,
I remember that.
where? I was like, we only got so many places, and
There's
I've
like
applied
6
at all of them.
stores in our immediate area, and 5 of them are closing.
Yeah. And it was like just like trying to get this idea through their head that like, it's like, hey, it's like, well, I don't see you doing anything. I'm like, yeah, because it's all online now. Because like it, and truly it was new then. Like some places I did still fill out like a paper application and turn it in the store, but like it was like that transitory period where everything went online.
I remember that for my older siblings, my
Yeah.
eldest brothers, because they're, I think, literally Justin's age. And like going to the mall
I-
with them and them walking around and being like going into Hot Topic and be like, hey, are y'all hiring? And they're like, you can actually apply online. And we were like, we don't have a fucking computer. The fuck? Like,
Justin,
mean,
if I were you, I wouldn't take that.
no,
Hey.
I'm being dead ass. My eldest
No.
brother is 10 years older than
She
me.
said
That's-
eldest. If I were you, that wouldn't fly.
Hey, I may be the eldest, but I look the youngest, so it's fine.
Black don't crack, my man.
But for real. But yeah, so basically all of that situation, long story short, led to me getting kicked out by my parents. And then I was a little homeless for a while. I was on my aunt's couch.
A little homeless.
Just a smidge.
I mean, a little homeless. Like I had places to sleep. I wasn't like sleeping on the street.
I mean, if
I
we're
didn't have
being
a
honest,
home.
that was another one of those reset points in my life as well, because I was also
Yeah.
partially homeless.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Is that a trend with you millennials?
Being partially homeless, yes.
With having like super religious, unwavering parents, yes.
I'll look out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Holy
because
shit,
I would say
twice
I
in
was
my
homeless,
life I
but I
was
wouldn't say I was
partially homeless.
unhoused, if that makes sense.
I was
Like
unhoused. That's the proper term.
it's like I had places to sleep, but I didn't have a home. I was living out of a Rubbermaid bin. You know, it was awful, honestly. Truly, it did wonders for my mental health. And eventually I moved back in with my parents. So I got kicked out in March, moved back in sometime toward the end of summer. Had a really shitty year. Got kicked out again. Don't remember why I got kicked out the second time. But my parents then were going on vacation and they wanted me to stay longer so I could take care of the dog while they were gone. And then they came back and we just kind of didn't talk about it, so I just lived there. And then the third time I was kicked out, I was given till the end of the year. And I was like, all right, bet. It's great. So this is October of 2009 at that point. But then, so I was working on getting a place, you know. I was going to move to Central Illinois where cost of living was cheaper and there were actually jobs. But then I got into it with my dad. My dad decided that I needed to go to bed. Mind you,
What?
yeah. So at this point, I'm 20 years old. My
nigga,
dad
y'all-
decided that
y'all
I
got
needed
into a
to.
fight about bedtime.
Oh no, but for real though. So like, I would go to work at 6 p.m. right? Because I'm working at a theater, you know, and it's a dollar theater, so we're open like 4 hours a day. I'm going to work at 6 p.m. and my dad decided I needed to have like he wrote it out as like an electricity curfew of like 1 a.m. So this man comes home from work, it's like 2 a.m. and I'm like, he's like, why aren't you in bed? And I'm like, I've been awake for less than 12 hours. Like I'm just like, I was like, I'm not tired. And he basically told me to turn everything off and go to sleep or else. And I was like, no. And I got kicked out and gave me till the end of the week to get out. So then I lived on my friend's couch in Central Illinois and I ran out of money and I had to borrow money from an ex-girlfriend.
That's rough.
I moved in with some.
Did you?
I
did you
did
find her
move
on
in with a
MySpace?
couple dudes. Say what?
Did you find her on
I
MySpace?
find her on MySpace. No.
That's
Sorry,
crazy.
this. I still had all those youth group relationships, man. I was
MySpace
only
is
20, man. I still had
crazy.
all those connections. But like I moved in with a guy from high school and one of his friends, and like that's how I blew all my money. Not blew, but like I paid my security deposit and I paid my first month's rent, and then I had like $5. Hence me borrowing money from an ex-girlfriend. Got a job, was basically not paying the gas bill so that I could pay all my other utilities. It was awful.
Mm.
But I will say that awful experience taught me a lot about, you know, I don't know. I've got like so much empathy for people who are just going through shit. It's like, you don't have what you need. You need food, you need money, you need whatever. It's like, money's not real.
Like, why do
Right.
why do we live in a system that penalizes people for struggling?
Right.
Like, the more
exactly.
the more you succeed, the more things are just given to you. But when you actually
Mhm.
need things to be given to you because you're struggling, that's when you're penalized the most. It's like the opposite of the Mario Kart rules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like the
exactly.
person in first place gets all the best weapons and the person in last place gets the banana. Like, nobody's behind you. You're in last place. What are you
Yeah.
going to do with a banana?
They've actually changed that, so they are indeed going for capitalism.
Oh God.
But like, so like for me, like, because I got a lot of help from a lot of people who kept me alive, and and little things, like my friend whose couch I lived on, you know, her giving me a marker to go play bingo with her and her roommates was like honestly the best thing ever. It's like this, like, seems like this tiny, like, insignificant gesture, but like I was actually able to go do something fun when I didn't have money, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think about that a lot, like especially like now when our current political climate where we see people who are just like, oh well, we don't. They're like, oh, they shouldn't be spending their food stamps on junk food or whatever, and like, if they have money to do this fun thing or whatever, they shouldn't be getting any sort of like welfare or whatever. And I'm just like, if you don't have any sort of like psychological relief from the awful that you're living in,
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's like everybody deserves to have that little break.
Well, it's not even that, but like also like literally, it's set up to where the most healthy food is more expensive. Like,
Yeah.
like what are we talking
Yeah,
about?
you ever
here?
try to buy plants and then they die in 2 days? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Why do you think people eat like raccoons?
Listen, if it were not for Janelle, I genuinely believe I would be dead by now. Just from like the health reasons, not like mental or any of that stuff, like physically. Janelle has kept me alive because she understands how to shop for things like that and make food stretch and make those changes. Most people don't have that kind of background though.
Yeah.
So if you try to eat the way that we eat without Janelle's education and knowledge, you're spending an arm and a leg literally every time. And it's not like we know this, so we're like saving and hoarding and things like that. Like, it's rough for us too. I couldn't imagine not having Janelle and trying to do what I do now. It is batshit
Yeah.
that the things that are killing us are the most affordable things. And then we live in a capitalist society where nobody gives a fuck. Like, if you can't afford to live, you can't afford to live. Deal with it. Die quicker.
And it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's all your fault. Oh, that's the thing that pisses me off the most about the church. We'll get into
Yeah.
that at
Oh,
another date, I'm sure.
yeah.
But like, well, if they would just make better choices, like with what? Like, you have A, B, C, D. I've got A and B. Like, how am I supposed to make better choices?
Yeah. I had to have a conversation with my nephew. He was probably 15 at the time. And he had this idea that like if you were poor, it was like your fault.
Yeah.
And like because you didn't work hard enough. I remember I don't remember where we were driving back from. It was me, him, and my sister, and I was like, I'll take this one. I was like, 'cause she was just like,
You listen here, you little shit.
No. Like, truly.
but like I totally get it. She's like, did I make a mistake here? No, she didn't make a mistake here. And I totally get it. All of his friends are like white upper middle class
Oh.
conservatives in a
I'll do
super
it.
Christian
Yes.
area of Wisconsin. Like,
Where I work,
But-
I have this kid that I do tutoring. I'm his favorite teacher, which is lovely to know. But this kid is literally Texas royalty. If I told you his last name, you guys would all be like, "Oh yeah, from this family." Like, it's very well known. He was
do
born into
they
money.
own Skittles?
No, they don't own. Well, as far as I know, they might. I don't know. But like, he was born into money. He's a good kid. I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite students. But I had to explain to him the other day. We were talking about simple interest is what we were going over in his lesson, like so he could understand it. And he was like, "Oh, what's the interest on your house?" I was like, "Buddy, I rent. And I will probably never be able to buy a house in Texas with the way the real estate market is going." And he's like, "Oh, Okay, well, I guess that's not something I ever thought about. Like, yeah, your family doesn't pay interest because they've owned that land for hundreds of years. If you wanted to, you could pay cash to build a house on your family's property and nothing would change for you. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that does make sense. I don't think my parents pay mortgage." It's like, "They definitely don't. I know who your parents are. They don't. And
Yeah.
it's not your fault, but you don't understand this because it's not something you've ever had to think about. So let me explain this to you from the perspective of somebody that does think about it every day. Because if I miss one paycheck, I'm out on my ass. Like, I don't know what you want from me." So
Yeah.
I get that.
I'm gonna get off this financial tangent real quick, but I was just gonna say there was a point in my life where I was able to like save, and I had like more than $10,000 in savings, and which was great. I had this great feeling of security, and then I got laid off, and then I didn't work for a while, and then I moved across the country, and then I was like, yes, here's the lifestyle I knew.
Now it's back to my regular life. I
Like,
bet you're wondering how I got
it was nice
here.
to be able to spend $4,000 to move across the country and not be broke or just be swiping credit cards.
Wow.
But it was also just crazy to just see that money just disappear.
Watching that savings account drain is one of the most heartbreaking things.
Yep.
I get it.
It was honestly the best thing though, that like I was in a place that like before that I had saved money. Mostly because I was depressed and didn't do anything, so my money just went into savings because I wasn't going anywhere to spend it. I was playing Mass Effect, but that's not the point. But the point is about starting over. So getting back on track here. Yeah. That was like the first time in my life I ever like really had to start over. Was like getting kicked out, figuring out how to live on my own. Like I had gone to college for a year, but that was like I'm in a dorm, I have a meal plan, it's like I'm living on my own, but like not really.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn how to, like I had issues where like I kept like I was having to navigate like the banking system in ways that like younger people may not know this now, but like back then, your banks used to process your biggest transactions first.
Hell yeah.
And then you would, so like
Yo,
I checked my
fuck
bank account.
First
It's like, oh, I have
National.
$45
Let's
in
talk
my
about
bank
that
account.
shit.
Yeah. I go get gas, and then next day I get like 4 overdraft notifications because my bill came out earlier than I thought, and then everything after that's negative. And I'm like, all right, hold on.
Yeah, like they would
It's like
process your big bills that same day and then postpone your other ones so that they could charge you $35 for every negative transaction you had.
Yeah, no, I had like $140 of like overdraft fees,
Uh-huh.
and it was crazy.
I remember that
And then
being at UT. That happened to me like 4 times.
yeah, shout out Obama for putting a stop to that.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks.
Like,
Yeah.
genuinely. Thanks, Obama.
No, but for real though, that's like honestly like if someone wants me to name something Obama did, that's the thing that comes to mind because it
the
affected me
overdraft fees, bro. Like,
so much because I was struggling for so long. Well, I had to learn how to do everything on my own. Like the fun thing is I learned how to cook. My mom's a bad cook. Like not good. My brother and I at this point in time, we weren't friends. We didn't really talk. My brother calls me out of the blue, and I'm like, shit, somebody's dead, right? Because we don't talk, right? I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, I just had chicken and I liked it. And I'm like, what? This girl just cooked me some chicken. It was really fucking good. And I'm like, what?
Like,
He's like,
it's
yo,
not,
you got
it's
yo.
not
He's
that
like,
he
you
had good chicken for the first time. He had chicken good enough to call someone he doesn't talk to.
He was
to
like, yo,
let
you
them
gotta.
know.
He's like, you gotta get some chicken, man. You gotta find some chicken.
He
We
said,
grew up thinking
"My man,
we grew up
this
thinking
is
that we
the
hated
best
chicken.
meal."
And this girl, she was like, oh, there's no way you don't like chicken. He's like, nah, I've had it every which way. I don't like chicken. She made, fun fact, Drake wrote a song about this girl. But anyways, she made this man chicken, and he was like,
How old was she when he wrote the song?
Chris.
she was in college. At SIU, Southern Illinois University. But yeah, no, man, it was life changing for both of us because he called me and I was like, wait, I gotta try some chicken. But yeah, so I learned how to cook because of that. So like, there's a lot of benefits that came out of that. Like, I learned how to manage my money after a lot of mishaps. I learned how to DIY a lot of shit. Even now I DIY everything. I build all my stuff. I do most
I've
of my
seen it.
car repairs. Perks of being poor for a while means you learn how to do stuff. You can't be poor and have no skills.
That's true.
If you're poor and you have no
I
skills,
tell you what.
If you're
it's
poor
like
and
you
have
better
no
have
skills, you weren't
yourself
poor.
a partner who knows what they're doing, or a sugar daddy, mama, whatever, who's gonna help you out. Because like, the struggle's real. You gotta get your shit together. Second time I started over was much like Tim. I had a divorce. 2020, in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Let me tell you, if there was a time to get divorced, it was not during COVID.
One
It was a
whammy after
crazy
another.
year. So, my sister is immunocompromised. She got COVID immediately. Like, before we even did the lockdowns, she was like, boom, first wave COVID,
Damn.
ICU, almost died. ICU for like 14 days, 13 days, whatever. Lots of high stress environment. But then my ex-wife and I we were both not working. We were both at home. I was working like 1 day a week. Makes it really hard to avoid your problems at that point. Lots of external stressors, and you're just stuck in the same building all the time. I'll spare you all the details as to why that happened. We can talk about that in another episode. It's like we can talk about that, about religious shenanigans, because that's what it really boils down to. But yeah, once we split, it was like this whole, I blew up my life like in slow motion, honestly. Like, I was working in a church, and when we first separated, I ended up having a meeting with the lead pastor, because that was right around the time that like Jacob Blake had gotten shot in Kenosha, which is where I was living at the time. And he had come to ask me about it, and I told him about my separation and in conjunction with that. And then of course we never talked about it again. And it was like, all of a sudden it's like everybody knew like I was like separated / going through a divorce, whatever, and nobody talked about it because I was in a church. It was Assemblies of God, so I was like, was there a fair? Nope. Then it's like, it's taboo.
Right.
But
Yep.
I was in this highly valued technical role, so of course nobody's going to say anything or have any issue with me being there because I provide a lot of value to them, more than they're willing to pay me for. But yeah, it cost me like weird like relationships. It cost me relationships at the church because like I'm over here like trying to live, and it's like I have no support from anyone, you know. And then I moved in with my sister as that thing processed, and then I had a mental breakdown. And then out of that, I decided to move to Texas. That's why I know all you yahoos.
Yeehaw.
Ye doggy.
Best decision
And
of your life.
it was maybe the worst decision. Not the worst decision of my life. It was bad.
All right,
Like, no, don't get me wrong. I love you guys,
Guess
and a
I'll
lot
go
of good
fuck
came out of it.
myself.
But man, like, I hopped into a job. I almost got, I got thrown to fire 2 weeks in. Like, come on, you know.
True.
Nah, it was crazy. Honestly, just like looking back at it, it's like I packed up my entire life, put it in a Penske truck, and drove down to Texas. It's a 21-hour drive. I drove through like an ice storm. It was awful. And yeah. But like that was one, like I had my sister's family, her husband. The kids were too young to be of any use emotionally. I love those kids. They're
No
great.
use.
I loved having them around. We play video games and stuff together. But like, I can't talk to him about my problems. You're like 9 years old. Get out of here. You know.
I find that talking to 9-year-olds is probably the best way to therapize yourself.
Oh no, I mean,
But
I
they
do love those kids.
traumatize them.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
Nobody cares about them.
But yeah, no, it was crazy because like I had like a whole like mental breakdown. I always repressed my emotions when I was younger. And after that, now I can't repress my emotions. I feel all of them so much. Yeah, it's sometimes a problem, but it's good. I mean, so long story short, that's the second time I started over. Third time, most recent time I had to start over was when I left Texas. When I left Texas, I didn't just leave Texas. I also left the church.
Yeah, buddy.
That's a massive change.
Yeah. And I got incredibly depressed coming from that one. Like, for the listeners, my sister's a therapist. In hindsight, I have never seen my sister so concerned about my emotional well-being. Because she's just like, I don't know what to do, but I do know that you're not good.
Valid.
I see the smoke.
Yeah, no, it's funny now thinking back to her like little like intervention she had with me, because it's different like when it's like your family. It's not like when you're dealing with a patient, because it's like she's like emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And then she's like yelling at me, but then like also like not yelling at me. I was just like, what? I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, why am I being
Just
yelled
quiet
at?
yelling.
I mean, not just because she was like scared, but like I'm 35 years old, and I was in church from basically when I was born in 1989 until November of 2022. You can do that math. It's 33 years. When your whole life is structured around something and you just rip that out, it does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Like, all my relationships were based around the church in some way. Not all, but most. I mean,
yeah, like good 95%.
all of the ones I had at the time. Like, I was thinking, like, even my friends who aren't, I'm like, oh, it's like just I only been friends for 17 years, but we did meet in youth group. Look at that. Like,
honestly, like
in some way,
all
it
of
all
you
ties
guys are
back
in
to
my
there.
life because of the church.
So that was the hardest time I had starting over. Even now, still in some ways, like I eventually I had to go delete a bunch of people off of Instagram from like the church I worked at here in Wisconsin. I was just like, I can't be seeing all this stuff because it was just like make me mad,
Yeah.
like rage inducing. It's like, think about it for like people who've never been in church. The best way I can describe it is like, imagine you've got this like family who's been great and they like love you and they support you ish. And then one day you're just like, hey, I'm not going to do this one activity with you guys anymore. And then like, hey, fuck you, you're dead to me. That's kind of like what it's like when you stop going to church.
Yeah.
It's like people you've been like friends with for a decade are just like, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm not going to do this with you. You know, I'll pray for you, air quotes. Sorry, you can't see this, people. Like from a distance, but like, you know, really what it is they're going to tell all their friends like, oh, you hear Justin stopped going to church? Justin has issues with XYZ, whatever. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's like straight bullshit. And it's I wasn't around for the deconstruction series that started like before I came around, but I can imagine, all you guys experience the same thing of like you're like I'm just trying to like be honest to myself, and then everyone's like, fuck you, you hate God.
Yeah.
They're not saying
Yeah.
fuck you because they can't, because they're Christians. Unless they're in Texas, in which case they can say fuck you, because Texas Christians are weird.
Texas Christians are the best Christians.
No, but
Which
bro,
is,
for real though,
honestly,
they're
it's
so
like
weird.
being the tallest kindergartner. Like, it doesn't really matter, but there you go.
Oh no, Texas Christians were way more comfortable drinking than any other Christians I ever met. Yeah, so with like the whole like ripping church out from my life, it kind of just put me into this weird state of like, well, depression. But like it blew up my social life. Like I didn't know how to make friends outside of church. Honestly, still don't. Making friends when you're 35, super weird. I just
It
go to the
helps.
bar
It helps if you
and
have a
talk to
kid
weird people.
and that kid makes friends naturally, and then you make friends with that kid's parents. That's what I did.
No, but for real though, that's what all my friends say. It's like I'm just friends with my kids' friends' parents. I'm like, that doesn't help me. I don't have a kid. I'm not having a kid like that.
You don't want to rush that process, buddy.
I'm going.
No, there's no
I'm-
rushing. There's no rushing. It's not happening.
I'm
I am-
literally going to help my daughter's best friend's parents move this next weekend because that's the level of friendship I'm at, apparently.
Yeah, and that's great. But now I'm like over here, like I'm a single 35-year-old dude who's like, I don't know, like out here, like, I don't know, just trying to like make friends and meet people in ways that won't get me murdered.
Well,
Like-
you're definitely too old to be meeting parents because that means you would have to be around kids. And since you don't have kids, that's weird.
Now, and the crazy thing is, my nephews are too old.
They are.
Mm.
Like, how did that happen?
Their friend group
My
is
sister's
already
only 3 years
locked in.
older than me, but she had kids starting at fucking 18. It's like, why'd you start so young? You got 3 kids. Your youngest is about to be 15. It's weird. Okay, anyways, it's not weird. It's just like, they're useless. They're not helpful. It was cool. It was cool when they were young
Use
and
that word
cute. Now they're
useless
just
again.
annoying and they smell bad. I hope you listen to this. Clean your room. You smell bad. Sorry. Anyways, yeah. So like, ripping that out and like losing friends and losing. I was not just friends, like my whole sense of community. I didn't know where to go. Even just like, it's been a couple years and it's still weird that I have 2 days off every weekend because Sunday was never a day off my whole life.
No, I feel that.
I was at church, first in, last out, the majority of my life. Worship teams, tech teams. My dad was a preacher. I'm cleaning the fucking bathrooms. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was there. So like now it's just like
What do I do?
Sundays. I go grocery shopping on Sundays. It's like a whole extra day compared to like the way I've lived my life, the majority of my life. So that's been cool. That's been nice. But man, moral of the story is, as far as starting over goes, since that is what we are actually talking about here. Those 3 instances like were all like massively like emotionally devastating. I do think it came out better on the other side of all of them. And I don't think it's too late to start over, ever. I was just talking to someone this past week who's 37, and they're talking about feeling like, they wasted their life, and I'm like, statistically speaking, you're not even halfway dead yet, so you got
Not
some
even.
time. I was like, you're white, you got financial stability, you live in the Midwest, you're a woman, like, yeah, you're top of the American life expectancy. You're good here. But no, I was just like, yeah, it's like you haven't even spent half your life yet. I was like, you got at least a good 30 years of being able to move about freely.
Yeah.
Just go and do all the things you want to do. Go see the places you want to see. Like, I don't care how old you are. It's never too late. Like, if you're 70 and you're listening to this, it might be a little bit harder for you. You know, you might need to source your grandkids, great grandkids, you know, whatever.
What
Start a
can you
cult,
do
doesn't
to
matter.
make this successful?
But it's never too late to do the things that you want to do.
Right.
And I have to tell myself that all the time. Like, I used to have all these dreams of making music. Y'all listening can't see, but like, I'm in a room with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guitars, I think, and a ukulele and a keyboard and probably some other musical things. I don't know. Like music was like my passion for years, and then that was another thing I lost when I quit the church was my musical outlet, and I'd always dreamed of doing it for a living and making money off of it. But it's like it's really not too late for me to like start like doing the things I wanted to do if it that weren't church related, like composing and doing scores and just otherwise just making music for fun. It's like I look and it's like, oh, I'm 35, I'm too late because there's all these like 20-year-olds making like insane, amazing
Right.
music. But
That's how I
like,
feel about watching soccer.
I mean, here's the thing though: if your dream is soccer, unless you're like the LeBron of soccer, it's probably too late for you.
It is too late
Listen,
for us.
Justin, I hear what
But-
you're saying, but also fuck you.
But like physically, it might be too late for you to do some things if you're trying to be like a professional athlete. But for the most part, no. Honestly, a good inspiration for me was there's a serialized cop show on ABC. It's called The Rookie.
Oh,
Stars
yeah.
Cop cuties, cutin' on duty.
okay, first of all, that song is amazingly catchy.
It's so
that's all you need
catchy.
to know. Go look it up, watch the video. It's been stuck in my head ever since the first time I saw it.
Same.
But Nathan Fillion plays this guy who survives a bank robbery and decides he wants to become a cop afterwards in his like late 40s. He joins like the police academy, and it's called The Rookie, but we're like 5 seasons deep. He's not a rookie anymore.
There's no
Someone's
way.
always training. Someone's always training a rookie in the show. They're like, we gotta put some rookies in here somewhere. But it is kind of like a cool, like, hey, like you're just because you're older than typical, it's like doesn't mean you can't do shit. You might have to work harder to do it, but like you can still do it.
Yeah.
You could probably still join the military. You have till you're 40.
That's
I
wild.
cannot join the military because my lungs are dog shit. They will not take me.
I am dead.
Also, they want me to cut off my hair. And do you see how long this shit is?
Period.
Yeah, not doing that. Not doing that.
I
Y'all have
mean,
all
it's
seen
a
my picture.
last
This hair ain't
resort.
getting cut.
Yeah.
Actually, I might cut my locks a little shorter this summer. We
No.
will see. Shorter, not off. But it's getting caught in shit it shouldn't be getting caught at. Like it's dangerous now. We've reached a turn. We've gone from inconvenient to actual danger.
Final destination.
Listen, it could get caught in a jet turbine. Who knows?
No capes.
Closing the oven door.
Oh God.
No, that's rough. Yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, no, my hair is long. My hair is really long now, and it is a little concerning because I don't have anyone to help me figure out what to do with hair this long. Nah, man, I don't know.
Buzz cut.
So we might do a trim. We're not cutting it off. No one's really gonna notice unless they see me in the reg, but it is getting dangerously long. But before I turn it over to Harley, all I just want to say is like, starting over is hard. It sucks, and sometimes you feel like your world's ending and that everything sucks, and you just want to go drive off the Hone Bridge into Lake Michigan. The Hone is a bridge of 794 that goes over the edge of Lake Michigan
And Lake
Thank you,
Michigan is
Justin.
cold.
in Wisconsin. Lake Michigan's just normal. Y'all might think it's cold down in Texas, but it's
It's cold.
normal.
It's cold.
We swim in it up here. It's
It's
just
like an
perfectly
ocean.
fine.
It's cold.
It is not even the greatest of the Great Lakes.
It's still huge. It is
You can see the other
considered
side
a
from the
Great
right
Lake.
angle.
But
Well,
to
yeah,
note,
like-
Justin, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, wait, what are you saying?
I was just going to continue on kind of what you were saying in general. Just, I didn't really emphasize too much about the processes of how and which, starting over. But like, that's honestly it. It's learning to kind of get over the fear of it all and to let go and to trust yourself and to trust that you have a good community around you and people that are there for you and rooting for you and everything. And when you have that, you can do a lot of things. You can accomplish a lot of things. And when it comes to all the things that I'm doing right now, I know I'm kind of going stealing your story here for a second, Justin, but like just to reiterate, like if it wasn't for like Chris and Janelle's hospitality and their love for me and me being able to stay here, and then also my parents' hospitality of their support and my grandparents, and then how they're supporting me for college, like all these different things, like it allows me to help start over. And so, I think maybe one of the things I should have mentioned in my story is making sure that you are a good friend and being there for people in the same way that you would want them to be there for you. And that makes that process of starting over a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, community is everything, and if you don't have community, it makes it that much harder. I mean, like when I came back from Texas, I didn't have that community. Like I did for a bit. Um, I had a band for a brief moment. Long story short, singer in my band decided to have an affair with the wife of a videographer who I'm good friends with, and I did a lot of work with in the past. Blew up my whole band, my whole community like dispersed basically as a result of that singular action.
Damn.
And expiring green
Selfish.
card, shout out American immigration. But like, yeah, so like I did a lot of that like reboot, restart without having like solid community around me, because it's like, oh well, my people are gone all of a sudden unexpectedly because drama. um but yeah, no, I mean, even if you don't have people around you to support you, it's like you can still do it. It's gonna be harder, it's gonna suck, you gotta make some good habits,
But it can be done.
but it can be done. Your back's gonna hurt from carrying all that weight, but you can get it done.
That's the problem I have. My back is constantly hurting from carrying the weight of this juicy fat ass.
Oh my gosh. Harley, it's your turn.
I knew it was coming.
Oh,
All right, what you got,
brother.
Harley?
This guy stinks.
Boo this man. Boo.
It's not boo this man. You know the words. You know the words, Chris. You're the other
I
person who
do.
can say it.
One of the two of
What-
us.
Yeah. I was like, we don't need to talk about it. Anyways, Harley, what you got?
Okay, so before I begin, I would like to say that I'm very proud of y'all for sharing your stories and stuff. It's pretty baller because,
Thanks.
although it's a podcast and we be yapping, some things can get, tough to talk about.
Yeah.
So get into it, Anyways. So when Tim, was it Tim? Yes. First bounced this idea around, I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then I was like,
But
what?
Is it?
What can I talk about? Because it's not that I haven't started over. It's just that I've definitely like blocked a lot of things out.
Same. It's the
the
safest
more,
way to start over.
yeah, truly, it's just by forgetting it happened. And so then I was like, I would like think about a thing, and then I'd be like, oh, then there's this other thing, and then I'd think about that thing, and then there would be another thing, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. But I would say my starting over bits wouldn't have really started, if you will, until I was really graduating high school, going into college. My senior year was super like pivotal for me. It was like trying to figure out how to be an adult from, or I guess around people who weren't great examples of it.
Mm.
And being like, how do I get a bank account? Like, how do I get a debit card?
Truly.
Like just basic things like that. Or
Still-
like,
Still trying to figure that one out.
in like applying for college, like thankfully I had a lot of people in school, like teachers, who really set me up for success that way. But like it was still like super like confusing and difficult and
It's
like
built
really
that way
hard
on
to
purpose.
what?
It's built that way on purpose.
Yeah, truly. But at the time I had a boyfriend who like his grandma was like very helpful with those things, like the adulting. Like I literally had to get my social security card and my birth certificate, and she helped me through like getting that process done and like getting a bank account and all that stuff. And like I will genuinely be forever grateful for that woman. Like just really she was wonderful. Um and then going to college. I was the first one in my family to go to like a 4-year university
What?
and like
Get it?
navigate that on my own, really figuring out how to do the payments, getting student loans, paying for it like myself, really, even though because of my dad's like VA like chapter,
Chapter
um
35.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that helped. Like that was like a monthly stipend essentially, so I would use that like every month to pay off my and like do m- payment plans and like figure out how to like pay to live on campus because I didn't have a car or a driver's license and like all of this stuff. And then really college in general was it was like almost every year was starting over
Yeah.
because it was a new year of adulting, and there was always something every year. And so like after my freshman year, it was going into my sophomore year, I moved back home, and then I was like working on getting my driver's license, and like it was just cheaper to live back at home. And like then I moved in with some friends, and then the pandemic happened, and I was like, "Oh,
And you were trapped with those friends.
which it was fine." But then there was like thing over time it became not fine. And that's just what happens when you're 19, 20 years old and you don't know how to effectively communicate with other people. And you probably have mental health issues that are undiagnosed, and you don't know how to navigate that or with other people who also have undiagnosed mental health issues.
Or they could be diagnosed and you just can't do anything about it.
Real. But like me next. You know what I'm saying? And so at that period I had moved in. I was living with a friend for like a year and some change. And so I was into no, that was like after my junior year of college. In the middle of all of this, some point I leave the church as well cuz I was like came to terms with my own sexuality and like being interested in any gender, any person, whoever. And then finding out that somebody exposed me to other people at the church that I was attending.
Can I ask, like, let me rephrase. When I was working at Grace, my first ever understanding of your existence, Harley, was as this person who had been there, and then you like left because you were like, I got some mixed messages there, like you were bitter or you were struggling with like your sexuality, or like bitter because you were like bi and it wasn't accepted or something like that. Like those were the stories I got, and I was like, who's Harley? I didn't even know Harley was male, female, whatever. Like I didn't know anything. That was genuinely my first understanding of your existence,
Listen,
which is
same for us. Like we had met Harley at one of Tim's house party things that he did for the youth group. I think we had met her maybe once or twice. And then we started hearing stuff like that and we were like, no, not our baby bean. You are not
But,
going
like,
to talk about Harley like that.
this is 2021, by the way. So I'm like, who is this person who's not here and why are we talking about them? Like, I don't
When did you
care.
get there in 2021?
I started, my first day there was January 3rd, 2021.
Okay, so it was probably April was when
I thought she was going
sorry,
to say January
a thing just left
4th.
fell. It was probably like April when I stopped because I was just an adult volunteer. So it was like April when I stopped volunteering, but I was like youth volunteer, adult volunteer, all of this stuff. And basically like did a lot of things alongside Tim and like Miss Charlene at the time. For all youth services. Teen services, I should specify, not any of the like children's services. But it was in January where I had gone to like an outing with some friends from the church, and I was like talking about how I had recently like gone on a date with somebody, to people who it wasn't that like I was ashamed of it because I was talking about it so freely, but it was one of those things where it didn't really cross my mind that they would be like, let's tell everyone.
What's in their pants?
And I was like, I like found out, I don't know when. I think it was probably April because it was pretty quick. Because I heard through the grapevine, of course, that people were talking, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not entertaining you. And then I was done. Because it's not fair that like my own like that my living like life was somebody else's entertainment, you know? And so I was like, I won't contribute to it. And so then I was
It's
done.
so interesting how Christians are like, you don't gossip, it's a sin. But
And then that's
man,
like
one of
99%
their
what
own
they do.
steps out of line, everybody knows it is the gossip of the town.
And Harley, I don't know if I've told you this, but like, I think it was actually a little bit before April, because the reason why I say that is because what happened to you was one of the final factors in me and Jess's choice to leave.
It really was. I was there for that conversation.
Yeah, like it was like
I
one of
remember
those.
you telling me that.
It was one of those things where it's like, okay, y'all are missing the forest for the trees and all this. Like, why are we having this conversation? And it was just like, okay, yeah.
That is our little baby angel, and you will not treat her like.
Yeah, it was just like eye-opening to see that after so many years and things that I've done to contribute, I was just reduced down to this.
The one thing that they think is a sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, knowing damn well all of their secrets,
that's another thing that like kills me. Like, they're coming after you for just being who you are when they are making the physical choices they're making.
Because it wasn't like anything I was doing was making me like a bad individual.
Nope.
I wasn't being hateful. I wasn't being mean. I wasn't like impeding anybody else's lives.
Yeah, you weren't even a bad example.
You had good fruit. To go back
Tim,
to church. Sorry.
You sound you're such a pastor.
But
you had good fruit. My God,
like,
I was just like,
but to use their
that's not the
language
first time I've
against
thought
them.
that this episode either. You said something earlier, and I was like, oh, pastor vibes,
Yeah.
just coming back
But
to.
I mean, that just
it's hard to talk about this stuff without tapping into that if that's
Oh,
the
but
well that you grew up with.
But that was kind of
No,
like
I totally understand, but Tim just delivers it so well.
He's practiced.
But like literally, like that was probably one of the excuses I used, or not the excuses, but like the language I was using. Then I was like, no, you're missing here. Like, this is the good fruit. Like, there is good coming from this person. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what the gospel is all about. This.
Well, they had to make an example out of Harley, but they would have used it moving forward.
Yeah.
As long
And
as
then-
the church benefited from it.
And what's even crazier is like the entirety of the church blew up after that. So really, we got out while we could.
True.
True.
Nah, but for real, I wrote out a lot of that destruction, and I was like, I gotta get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I like officially met Justin. Okay, wait, maybe when we were doing our kind of like recordings and stuff
Yeah, I
to
think
go
that's when it was.
online, and like Justin helped out with like a game
Oh, maybe.
or
Did
something.
you participate in
No,
those?
the first time we met was Jordan's birthday.
The following year. No, but
Old,
like we
old.
had met like
Had
in
we met before
passing.
that? I don't remember
That was
meeting
it.
you in passing.
His birthday was in like 2022.
Yeah, it was like January of 2022. That's the first time I ever remember actually meeting you.
Yeah. I knew of you because I know things.
Yeah.
She
I showed
drinks
up and was
she knows
immediately
things.
like weird and disruptive. But it's fine.
I don't recall that. I went to bed.
That's what I'm trying to do right now. Good for you.
But and so that was like another thing that I had to go through. And then later that summer, there was just like a situation where my roommate and I were like just no longer really seeing eye to eye on things. And so I needed to no longer live there with them. And so I moved back in with my dad. And there's really no reset like moving back in with your parents.
For real.
And like it was great. I love my dad. He's a real one. Thank God for him. Or let me not even say that. Thank universe. The beings.
Just thank him for being him.
Yeah. But I was at a point where I was still so like emotionally drained and just your girl was not doing good. To the point where that September ? I don't even remember exactly when. I tried to block it out, but we did a little a hotline dial, if you will. And that fully reset our brain to be like, "Hey girl, you got to get it together." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you so right." And then the rest of my senior year went decent. It was okay. I graduated college that following spring, and then I met Hunter. And that was a whole nother like start over moment because I moved states
Didn't like
away.
Still don't like that.
So that was kind of like, it wasn't that I hadn't like lived at home before. Like that was fine. It was just the fact of being so far away from like literally everything I knew. So like friends, family. But I had a really great, present tense, I have a really great support system up here. And I've developed friends and like all kinds of stuff. And I had gotten a job and it was really cool. And then most recently, I actually had to start over like literally this past month because we moved again, still in the same state. But now I'm in a weird limbo where I'm trying to be employed, but it is very difficult. And so, yeah. Something that I will say that has kind of stuck with me for like years, and this was in high school actually, was my statistics teacher showed us this video of this military general giving like a graduation speech. And his thing that he was saying was basically like, if you're gonna fail, and that's okay. But if you are going to, you fail forward. So like whatever your failure is, use it as a way to keep going.
Yeah.
How can you learn from this? And how can you change things for your future? And that like always really stuck with me. And then there was one other thing that he had said where he was like, if there is one thing, like if I'm feeling just so down and there is one thing I can do, I make my bed every morning.
Oof.
Because every day I can say that I have done something. I made my bed. And so now,
Valid
like
point.
years later, it's been, I don't even know how long since I've watched that video, but every day I make my bed. And there's
Valid point.
periods where sometimes I don't, but then I remember and I'm like, if I do anything, all I can do is just make my bed. And so that has really been influential when it comes to like periods in my life where I needed to start over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it for me.
I see it.
I'm sure there will be other points in my life where I will start over. You know?
Tis life.
'Tis life. It's
Hey,
bound to
and I
happen.
just tell people, hey, take Chris's advice. Just break up.
Just
break up. Don't be afraid of starting over. Sometimes, just like you'd be like, wait, is this working?
And
Nope.
listen,
Bye.
Harley, we love Hunter.
Yeah. Don't break up with Hunter.
Hunter's
Though.
great.
He is great.
But if at any point he becomes a detriment to your life, I will break up with him for you if you need me to.
I respect that.
As much as we love the Hunter legs, we will break them too.
No.
I will snap his legs like the sword of Gondor.
Sword of Gondor. Okay. Yeah. Love it.
I think he has that tattooed on his
He
butt.
does.
He does.
On his forearm.
We
Yep.
know.
Very familiar.
Uh,
His forearm
no.
will look like his legs' bones.
Well,
But yeah, I mean, it's starting over is scary. It's hard. I mean, we've all of us here have done it, and none of us are gonna say it was this easy
No,
to do thing because
Yeah.
it wasn't.
but it was
it wasn't, but, like,
necessary.
I mean, most of us got pushed into it by necessity, but like
mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like sometimes, like if you can control that, you'll be way better off
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it in a controlled manner than if you
Yep.
end up doing it because life forced you to, for better or for worse.
Chris,
Mhm.
to your, you kind of inadvertently quoted Interstellar there, but there's a scene in there where
I promise you it was an accident.
someone tells the main guy Cooper, hey, it's impossible. He goes, no, but it's necessary. And it's a great point. Like a lot of the times we think things are impossible, but like when we do the things that we have to, it's just necessary. Like we're forced in these situations. Kind of your point, Justin, is whether we like it or not, kind of just have to get through it.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, guys, that's our stories. We wanted to share a few things just from friends. We're not going to spend a lot of time with it, but we did want to give a shout out to a couple of you guys that reached back out to our social post. Skies Wicked Coven. She responded to us on Instagram. Said, "I left Texas and I was able to start over and build a life for my family in Washington. Finally happy. Love that."
Yay!
Would love to hear it. Love it.
And then our friend Maddie, I will not be sharing his video right now. I'll share it in the show notes, but it's a good 10-minute video, and I highly recommend that you do go check it out.
Mhm.
It's a great little story, and Maddie has he's got some things to say, and I highly recommend you follow him on TikTok and all over the places. But
Can I make that my new Wreck and Ref?
just Maddie,
Follow Maddie.
just follow Maddie. Yeah, his video is about his last few years with church and kind of like our similar situations and parents and all that, and so I highly recommend checking that out too.
Yay! Go, Maddie.
Harley, before we leave, you had a joke.
Oh, yes. All of this to say, we are actually starting the podcast all over.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the new cast of 4.
Yeah, new hosts.
I'm no longer going to be part of this podcast, mostly for my own sanity.
New settings, new everything, new accents.
everything.
We're
You
all
won't
doing new
recognize
stuff.
us when everything's done.
Episode 100 is the reset.
Yeah.
It's actually gonna be a brand new cast.
Shot ourselves to a whole new podcast.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like me and like Corbett and some guest.
Dave and Maddie.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hey, it is about that time to end this episode. Guys, thank you all again for listening to our crazy little podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and leave a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Always More Pod. Before we do our things, any final words for today? I know we kind of did that. Any other final thoughts?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
That. Yep. Harley, got anything?
That if you do anything, do it with patience and love for yourself.
Damn. Yeah. That's good.
Because life is hard.
Yeah. That's a hard one sometimes to take in.
We can use the life lesson that I hold fast to. If you dookie on yourself, and I live by that.
Period.
Justin?
Man, I gotta go to sleep, man.
Why are you
That's what I
why are you
gotta
down
do.
in the corner?
We got to start this
Falling
day
asleep.
over is what we're getting
Like,
at.
no, but for real though, like, you know, if y'all are really, really struggling and like start over, if you're in a situation where you have to and you don't know what to do, just DM the pod. Just DM the pod. Like,
Honestly.
No, truly.
Wha-
Like,
Tim,
One of
Tim,
us can
Tim will
do
handle
it.
it.
when it comes
And if
to
Tim
starting
can't handle
over,
it, Tim will tell us. And
I will find
we'll
you
handle it.
resources.
when it comes
Yeah.
to
But no,
starting
but for
over,
we'll make
you
sure
may
you get.
struggle, but that's
Yeah.
one of the things about this pod is we want people to know that they're listened to, they're heard, they're understood. We may not be able to help 100% of the time, but we will do whatever we can to
Yeah.
make sure that all of our resources are exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really funny, and I'll say this as my final thought here, but Justin and Chris, you guys kind of just pointed to something I should have realized and should have written in my segment, is we started this podcast kind of on my way out of the church. Now that I think about it, we started it in 21 as we were leaving out.
I'll be
And
honest, I knew this is where it was going to go. When you were like, hey, let's start a podcast, I was like, yeah, Tim's leaving the church.
But it's so funny because we know the whole point of this podcast is there's always more than this. There's always more than this moment. And this podcast has, for me anyways, been a reminder that there is always more than this, and that the current hardships and the things that we're going through, they are momentary, and as long as we're putting one foot in front of the other, we can together as a community and as a collective unit, we can get past it. And so my final thought is just always remember there's more. So Chris, where can we find you, man?
I am on Instagram as Captain_CT Ford and TikTok as Christopher.Lionheart. Don't look for me on Instagram. I don't post.
Harley.
I am on Instagram at @whatharley, WUT Harley, and on TikTok at harleybean.co.
Justin.
I am on Instagram, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network,
Everywhere.
Steam, Nintendo Switch.
I'm going to add
Nintendo.
Justin on Steam.
I'm going to add you on
Is-
Switch.
As Justin is Theory. Yeah, man, that's it. There's no follow-up to that.
You can find me everywhere at Tim or Timothy Lichty. Thank you all again for listening and for being a part of the conversation. And remember, there's always more than this. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.